Modular Designs. Hi Eric, how are you today?
Hello, nice to see you.
Thank you, it's nice to see you too. Would you show us the modules that you make, please?
Yes, with pleasure. So we have our existing range. We are a new company, but still we have a few products to show. From last year we have this TwinWay, which is our star product. It's a dual oscillator which can be audio or LFO, so VCO or LFO, independently for each section. It's based on the concept of algorithmic sound generation, where you can choose for each section what is the sound you want to create. So you have additive synthesis, you have some wave shaping, some wave distortion, you have some ring modulator, bit crushing, even noise and filters inside. And in LFO mode you have things like also the typical square, whatever, triangle and so on, where you can change the shape, but also random things like vectors, including Brownian ones, so which is quite interesting.
So there's quite a bit of variety.
Exactly, that was the purpose of the product, to have a very wide palette of possibilities within a simple module. And also to have two sections in as small as possible module. We have also, for example, quantizers. So in this case, here's the quantizer. So you see you have some acronym for the scales, and in case I don't know what it is, I just make a long press, and suddenly I have a scrolling message which tells me exactly quantize Spanish mode, for example. You see? When I'm done and I read the whole thing, that's it, I'm in place with that.
That's very clever.
Here I put it in LFO mode and I select some other waves. For example, you see, these are the typical random steps in LFO mode. I can change the rate. And then suddenly, this is not needed because it was, as in audio mode, a fine setting, it is now a level. And so my LFO has an output level. Every time I change the knob, and when it comes in phase with actual value, this LED goes on. So if I go into the other section, I know these knobs do not represent the actual value.
Right, of course.
Just by changing them, it tells me, oh yes, you have to go left, which I do. And at some point, it catches on.
Then you're in sync again, yeah.
So I know it shows the real setting behind. That's the whole idea.
It's very nice user interface design.
In LFO mode, you have things like, for example, a clock. So you can internal clock, external clock, and when you use those clocks, you can put divider values, and the dividers can be changed on the fly and also with a CV.
Great.
This is okay. I will not go further than that with that module, which is plenty to tell about.
That's wonderful. That's an awful lot. That's really nice.
The next one I want to tell you about, which is for the first time functional at the show, because last year it was just a mock-up. It's a mashup of a mixer and a sequential switch.
Nice.
So when all the sections down there are off, which I'll do now, I have two stereo mixers, sorry, two 2-to-1 mixers, with each of them the polarity, inverted or not, change of the pots between linear and log mode so that you can manage audio also with the curve of the pots changing actually really to become logarithmic or linear.
Nice.
And then a mute so that the section here is off instantly. All of that electronic control, clickless, perfectly silent. And then those two mixers may combine as one, because when you don't use the output of the first one, it merges into the second one. So I'm getting a 4-to-1.
Yeah.
What the fun begins here when you start on with a switcher. I set it on, and it means that now I will select an input according to the voltage. So I bring a voltage into it.
Yep.
And then I can change the setting of the value. Sorry, I will just show what it does. The light is playing tricks. Internal clock, there we are. And so, okay. So I'm changing the values in order to change the selection. I can make it also, this is with a clock, and I can make it also in a totally random way.
Oh,
if I want. And it's a pure random where you don't get any time twice the same So if you use it as a 4-step sequencer, for example,
Yeah.
you are guaranteed to have variations every time.
That's wonderful. What a great way to be able to do a lot of temporal manipulation in your sequence to keep things very fresh.
Also, when it goes fast enough to be controlled by audio. So if
Wow.
you control it by audio, it can go fast enough to change the sound at audio rate.
Wow.
So here it goes so fast that you don't even see the change happening.
And it becomes like an audio wave shaper at
Absolutely,
that point.
because in
Yeah.
every input you may bring part of an oscillator with different waves.
So cool.
And it will slice them in real time during every cycle.
Isn't it wonderful that processes are fast enough to be able to allow you to do that kind of thing at audio rate now? It's really fun.
Yes, indeed. Because these days you can have, if you code properly, you can have very fast process
Yeah,
in an affordable way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's wonderful.
So the next product I want to tell you about is the Logica XT.
Okay.
It's the follow-up of the previous Logica Gator, which was our first model in that domain.
Yes.
What it brings now is a list of add-in functions which were not previously available. And also now we have this extra button at the bottom. So, as previously, you can select any of the logic functions along a list.
Yep.
You can make that selection with the voltage that you can bring here, and so it can change on the fly.
Yep.
You have 3 inputs, getting to 1 output, it's invert result,
Yep.
and then a division by 2 of all of that. Now, with that button, I can go into selecting the other menu. Now I have 2 LEDs because I'm reading in the middle. And every time I move, I go down by pair, and I can read what's in between.
Oh, I see. So the extra button moves it from the functions on the left side to the functions on the right side.
Simply.
I see. Okay,
And
so
just
very-
by seeing 2 LEDs at once, you know you are on the advanced ones.
Yes. Is it the one with the 2 LEDs? Is it the one on the function on the bottom or the one on the function on the top? The function
In the middle.
In the middle. I see.
Simply.
That's very clever user interface design again. Yeah.
And so we find back the gator we had again, which is a big gate combiner, which contrarily to a simple OR function, makes that all the retriggering is maintained. So the more gate you add,
Yeah.
the more retriggering you have, and not less, as you would do with the OR function.
Yeah.
Then we have a gate to trigger here. Gate to trigger is about changing a short to a long or a long to a short. But how do I adjust the length? Very simply, no. You keep this one on, and here I'm to a setting. With all off, I know it's 1 milli.
Got it.
You see,
So you can adjust the length of the gate. Yeah.
And as soon as I release it, it is saved.
That's
As simple
great.
as that.
You've done, I know I've already said this twice, you've done a very thoughtful job with your user interface design, and I
you.
really want to call that out because that makes it very easy for people who aren't as familiar with it as you are to be able to get in there and start working with it. So I really like that.
Another complaint people had with our previous design is in the simple mode, so in the basic logic functions, the 4th input is this manual button. And by design, you would like to say when you have, for example, an or let's say, good example, an AND. With an AND, if the button is not already on, whatever you bring on the jacks, nothing happens because AND means everybody should agree for the thing to go on.
Of course.
But sometimes, this is not what you want. You would like the manual button to be the opposite. In the previous design, it was not possible. No, it is possible. Because, no, you can't, with the extra button, you can change that setting.
So instead of AND, it's a NAND? Is that what you mean by
it's an AND which imposes that you press. If you're not there, nothing happens.
Oh, okay, I understand, thank you.
See?
Okay.
These are the kind of small things which make that, okay, it was almost good, but not totally perfect. No, it is.
That's what happens when you have users work with it, and then they give you feedback, and you listen to them.
Absolutely.
Great. That's wonderful.
Back to the advanced functions.
Yes.
Here we have a simple set, reset, and clock function. Okay. And then the last one here, down there, it's a sample and hold, but it's digital. So far so simple. It enters a 0, 1, and when the clock comes, on the output it replicates what you get in. But the digital sample and hold has a delay function, which allows you to not get the result instantly, but delayed by so many clocks.
I see.
So the first steps, again here with the extra button, you can adjust that length, and according to a sheet, it's not printed on the panel, you have to have that feed. You have a length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and so on, 12 musical meaningful length. And that's nice to have that drum pattern, for example, being replicated in time, in delay, but still perfectly in place musically.
Right.
And then beyond these values, was the biggest is 128. You have three values, one by one, from 129 to over 5,000. And what is the purpose of that? This time you do not bring a slow step musical clock, but possibly a very high speed clock. Let's say even, for example, a 1 millisecond fast clock.
Uh-huh.
And that means that for that case, you have up to 5 seconds of very high resolution digital delay
I see.
for digital signal.
Wow.
And this allows you, for example, to make even sound manipulation by dephasing sounds, or just to replicate a very complex and very precise gating pattern in time and reposition it according to your desire.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Wow. Who knew that you could get all of that functioning out of a Logic module?
The last good news about that one is that the price is unchanged.
I see. What are the prices of your modules, as long as we're talking about that?
For the ones available right now, in US dollar,
Yeah.
this one, if I remember correctly, was 129 or 39.
That's really?
Yes.
That's very reasonable. It's very
This one was
reasonable.
like $10 more.
So $140 or so?
Yes.
Yeah.
And our star product is a $239
$239.
for a dual digital oscillator with 20 algorithms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Eric, where are some retailers where you can get your products?
In the US, there are 3 places. There is Control in New York.
Yeah.
There is 3-Wave Music.
Yeah.
And there is Perfect Circuit.
Oh, good. Perfect Circuit. I live in Burbank, so that's
the old place.
my home.
Yes.
I hadn't noticed them. The next time I go in there, I'll take a look and play with your modules and tell them that I spoke to you about them.
Nice.
Do you wish to show us your modules that aren't available yet, but that are in development, or should we save that for another time?
No, that's fine. That's
Okay,
fine. We can tell a word about those.
Please do.
This one teased on the Muff Wiggler in order to find the name for it. So we have a winner who proposed Prodigy as a Quad EG.
Uh-huh.
Of course.
Oh, very clever. For a 4-way envelope generator.
Yes.
I get it. That's nice.
So as you understand it, yes, you have these 4 envelopes.
Wow.
The difference is that first way is that you can select which one you will change.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite obvious. So you change settings, but also you can change more than one at once.
Oh,
Means
nice.
that if all of them are selected, what I change is changing all of them at once. So for people playing polyphonic
Right.
with modular, that's really a marvel.
That would be incredible for me for my live rack, because I often have 4 voices that are being triggered by different sequencers at the same time. So having something like this to allow me to be able to open up the release and close it down and go from very percussive to having more note, something like that would be this is a perfect use for something like that. I really like that.
As you could see, these small faders in the display are about the
Yeah.
actual value. So you changing all the value.
So
you can
clever.
And when you change the actual physical fader, you see this one is higher than what I see here. So when I touch it, as soon as I grab it, it goes on. And if I'm completely at the wrong place, for example, if I go to that one, I'm supposed to be down there, but I'm up. When I move it the wrong way, he says you should go down with a small animated icon.
I see.
So I go down
Until you're in sync with it again.
I see the light, and so exactly.
So before you do that, so let's say you have a very short attack, but the knob, the slider is all the way up in the slow attack mode.
And nothing happens. No, nothing happens until you grab it at the right place. Otherwise, you completely mess up. You mess up completely the setting. Yes.
Absolutely, that's great. Wow, and then it's got.
So I have my settings, and then I have 4 more pages for settings. For example, here I have additional pre-delay. I have a hold time, which I can add to the envelope. Here I have some kind of a punch, which is a plateau between attack and decay at full level, which is quite useful for percussive sound, because typically when you have instant attack, then comes a quite short sound, because it's what you want, but short decay. In fact, there is no time for the wave to develop at the top.
Right.
In this case here, you can really open the thing, let's say and very gently you say, I want a thing of just, let's say, 7 milliseconds.
Yeah.
And this is maybe enough time for the wave to be heard and to make some consistency and some punch.
Wow.
And the last one here is about global time. That's even more interesting. It takes all of the things you made so far and stretches them all together jointly
Yeah.
by keeping their proportion.
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful.
yeah.
That's,
Okay.
oh my goodness. And
Then-
you can save these as presets?
Yes,
it looks
of course. You have presets. That's the point.
Yeah.
In fact, the whole idea of the product came from a user who said, okay, you know, when I go live on stage, either I take really boring envelope generators,
Yeah.
they are simple, and I cannot mess them up. It's
Yeah.
okay, if I go wrong, I can go back where I should.
Right.
And when I take a very interesting, very rich envelope generator, I start tweaking it, and then hell comes loose. I
Right.
cannot get back again. It's
Right.
a complete mess.
Right.
Please make me something which is rich and programmable.
Wow.
And so this is the idea that came from that user.
How many presets can you store?
We don't know exactly so far. There will be a few tens. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly. It all depends what we end up because the code is not finished on that product.
Got it.
But certainly a few tens.
That's absolutely wonderful. Tell me about the inputs and outputs on this thing. I see 2 control voltage inputs.
Yes. In fact, I will just show you that you have also curves, as you
Oh.
would expect. And these are really drawing in real time the
Oh,
actual curve it makes.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
See? So you can emulate whatever curve you want properly, like analog stuff.
Uh-huh.
And since there is no curve on the sustain, we have the output level, which
Nice.
is very useful.
And so those curves are stored along with the preset.
Everything, absolutely everything. And for each envelope, because we have 4 of them.
So you know who your first customer is going to be for this, right?
I
That
guess
will be-
somewhere in the US, I guess.
it'll be someone buying it from Perfect
Someone,
Circuit
yeah.
in Burbank.
waiting in front of the door.
Oh, I
Okay.
think so. This is wonderful.
Oh, you asked me about the CV.
Yes.
So as you've seen so far, there are many parameters, and in fact there are a lot more. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And in some other pages also because you have cycle and so on. So going to your question,
Yes.
if I want to modulate that, I have this CV matrix button which I can activate, at which point I stay on the very same page, but now my faders tell me how much I modulate with a CV.
Okay.
The things I know already.
Okay.
And what I see now, the settings are about the modulation. So now in the middle I find a 0, which I can bring up to 100% modulation,
Sure.
or minus 100.
Sure. So it's like an
And
attenuator.
who is
yeah.
modulating? This U here, what is U? U is a user knob.
I see.
And then I have U here, I have an A, which is the CVA, and I have a B, which is a CVB, which is the jack there. And so, for each of these 3,
Yes.
I can go to any destination, and that for all envelope and all at once.
Okay.
The matrix is almost 150 matrix points in a single preset.
So I'm going to re-explain that because I was
Yes.
confused about it.
Okay.
So we've got one user configurable knob here that's used for modulation.
It is a virtual CV somehow.
Sure. And then you've got
that with only
CVA.
one thing, you can control up to 150 parameters.
Wow.
Plus the very same from CVA, plus the very same from CVB.
Right.
All at once. They are not exclusive. They can all act together, even jointly or in opposite direction. Why not,
Yeah.
as you like. So, what you do is telling which one will control. For example, here it's CVB,
Yes.
and I say CVB will make this on attack, that's on decay, and so on.
Yeah. So
And then I
okay.
say CV A, now will make something else. That on attack, that on this, and that on that.
And you can specify that for each of the different 4 envelopes separately.
Absolutely. Because now
Wow.
I go to the next one and I start again. Which, what, how many, how much, blah blah, direction, polarity.
And then you save that as a preset.
Exactly.
Do you have any idea what this is going to sell for? Do
Yes.
you know yet?
Yes, absolutely. This in Europe will be under 300. So in the US it might be just a bit over 300.
Yeah. Well, the euro. Yeah. Understood. And do you have a rough idea when it's going to be available?
This year, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully at the end of the summer.
Okay.
If not, a bit later, but for sure this year.
Okay, well then I'll be saving my pennies for it. Okay, and what's this last one we see over here, Eric?
It's a utility module which, okay, so Californian friends might think it has something to do with California Transport Board, but
Indeed.
it doesn't, no. The thing is that in fact it's a calibrator and transposer.
I see.
That's the reason of the name. And so it has two different functions which are used independently and at different moments. So it comes from the need to have properly calibrated analog oscillators.
Sure.
This module is able to handle 4 of them at once. And so you connect where your volt octave would go, normally you would bring it here, and where it should go normally, you take from out and you bring to your oscillators.
Okay.
Then, coming from an oscillator, so you send the CV.
Yep.
And
into the voltage, 1 volt per
and
octave.
you bring the sound, and the thing asks, oh, you want to calibrate something, which one? So you say, I will calibrate oscillator 3. So it is calibrating, or it's just faking up the thing because it's not calibrating anything. In fact, as you could see, I put no jack.
Sure.
But supposedly when it's done, he said, okay, done. So I remove and it's saved. When you've done all of that for all 4 of them,
yes,
you don't touch your oscillators on the core setting. You only use them for the very fine tuning for the beat. Because from now on you say oscillator 1 +2 semitone -2 octaves.
Wow.
And if I want, I can say, and those 2 together, up semitone.
Wow. So by remote control, you can control the frequency of 4 oscillators,
yes.
different brands,
and
different
globally,
anything.
and globally,
Wow.
yes, globally, and they will be now perfectly in tune. Beyond that, you can activate a quantizer for any number of them independently. Semitone quantizers, you want to weigh perfect semitones.
Yes.
So you say, okay, semitone on these 2, and from that on, you can see that these 2 have a blip, which is in sync with the quantizer, which says, okay, some of them is quantized.
I see.
And this is independently of setting them on off. You can see this one has no quantize, no blip, but these 2 are not controlled right now, but they have the blip to remind you that there is a quantizer.
I see.
Beyond that, you have 4 presets. So I can say I will load which one, number 1. I will store where, number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. These LEDs tell me where and what. And even beyond that, for each of them, I can say that oscillator, I put some portamento and some glissando jointly if I want.
Wow. So you can do that. You can do that directly. Let me make sure. Yeah, we're still good. So you can do that directly from here without having to.
Yes. And these goes also into the preset that you store.
Wow. So in effect, this really is sort of a remote control that goes between the output of the sequencer and the CV input of all of your oscillators to allow you to be able to do control of that stuff right from one place in one module.
It's exactly that.
Eric, how much do you think this one is going to be selling for, and when is it going to be available?
Similarly to the other one, this one will be just under 200 this time for Europe, and possibly a bit over 200 in the US.
Of course. And when do you expect that it'll be available?
Also before the end of the year.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, I want to thank you so much for taking so much time. This is Eric from Klavis Modular, and let me say, your designs I find interesting and novel, and I really appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.